fire to start cooking, or drag out the camp stove, or just have a really lightweight camp stove that you can throw in your backpack for a day trip or for primitive camping? If you answered yes to any of those questions, I have a stove for you. And you don't have to go to a camping store to get it. You can simply make it with some household items that you have just laying around the house or in the recycling bin. So come join me. I'm going to show you how to make a hobo stove. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a completed hobo stove. And a hobo stove is a very simple stove that kids can make with the supervision of adults. Adults can make. It's very portable, and there are several things that you can do with the hobo stove. And in part 2 of this video, I'm actually going to show you some things that you can cook and some techniques that you can use for this hobo stove. So how this hobo stove works is you have a fuel source right here, which happens to be a tuna fish can or a cat food can that actually has cardboard in it. The cardboard is saturated with paraffin. When you use the stove, you light your fuel source, you put the can on top of the fuel source. Now these holes along here actually allow for oxygen to come into the stove. So you can create control of your flame by adjusting this door, opening and closing this door. And the more that you use this stove, the more that door becomes flexible. Now if you don't have a coffee can, don't worry about it. These commercial sized cans of vegetables that many schools use will suffice for this project. So what you will need is you will need a coffee can or one of those vegetable cans that I referred to before. You're going to need a tuna fish can or a cat food can. I would suggest that you wash it out just so that you don't have that fishy smell. You're going to need some cardboard. You're going to need paraffin or old candles. This is a great use for those little nubs of candles that your kids have lying around. You're going to need tin snips, and you're going to need a church key. Now, the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to fix your coffee can or your vegetable can that you're going to use. And what that means is you're actually going to cut a 3-inch door in this can. Now, if you're using a coffee can, you can do this type of cut where you go up and across. If you're using a vegetable can that doesn't have these ribs, you can actually just make 2 slits at both sides and lift the door that way. Now a church key is very easy to use. You simply put it on the lip and you push down, and that's what actually creates these holes. So once you've done that, you've got your cook surface or your stove completed. Now the next thing that you need to do is you need to make the fuel source. And how you do that is you take cardboard and cut into strips. Now an easy way, you want to get the thickness or the diameter, so to speak, of the can and just measure it. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can be just a guesstimate. And you're actually going to start as tightly as you possibly can, coiling this cardboard. Now the goal is to completely fill the tuna fish can with cardboard. Now when you get done with one strip, what you're actually going to do, you're going to lay another strip over the top of it, and you're going to continue it until you get a container filled of cardboard. And you can test it, stick it in there, see if you need to add any additional cardboard, and then continue to add as needed. The next step that you're going to need to do is you're going to need to melt your paraffin, and paraffin is melted in a double broiler, and you're going to pour it onto the cardboard. Now you're going to have to do this in stages because you pour the cardboard on there, you pour the wax on there, and the cardboard absorbs the wax slowly. A tip though, when you do this, don't do this in the summertime because it's very hard for the paraffin to solidify, especially when it's 80 and 90 degrees outside. Continue to add paraffin to this until the cardboard will no longer take any more paraffin. Or in other words, you've got a layer of paraffin that's just sitting on the top and won't soak down through the cardboard. The next thing you need to do is you need to let it set. Now, this project is great to do in the winter because you can let it set outside and you can actually let it freeze, so to speak, and it will extend the life of your paraffin. In other words, you'll be able to use your fuel source longer. Now, once the paraffin-soaked cardboard has cooled and has solidified, you can put your camp stove together, which consists of putting it in here and then placing the lid on top of the can. And in doing so, this makes it a very portable type of can for a backpack, primitive camping, or you're taking a trip where space is premium. Now, I would caution you with a couple of things. Never leave this stove unattended. Second, make sure that you file down any sharp edges that may be on the can, on the coffee can itself, or the tuna fish can. Third, never pack up your Hobo stove until your fuel source has completely cooled. In other words, don't put the can with the paraffin in here because you're going to end up having a mess in your backpack and possibly burning yourself. So that is the basics of how to build a Hobo stove. So until our paths cross again, this has been Mindy from Camping Earth.